All right. So everyone's got their seats, got their questions. Everyone's awake. Woohoo! Great time. All right. So remember, we are going to be answering a question this weekend. The question that we've been looking at is, how do we get to a true heart of adoration, or true heart of worship? Okay? And I said we're going to be looking at 3 steps, because in order for us to get from where we are to where we need to be, we've got to have some kind of directions. We've got to have a path. We've got to have a roadmap. Okay? Now, does anyone remember what those 3 particular steps are that we're going to take a look at? What were those 3 words? Decide, commit, live. Decide, commit, live. Decide, commit, live. Very important, because this is going to show us how we get from where we are to where we need to be. Now, last night we looked at the word decide, and we looked at decisions, okay? And I mentioned that there were really 3 decisions that you will make in your lifetime that will really define who you are. What was that first and most important decision? Who will be your master? Absolutely right. That decision is huge. And we looked at who did we look at? We looked at an individual in the Old Testament. Joshua, right? And Joshua brings together all the people, and he basically gives them a retelling of their history. And then in Joshua 24:15, he says, "But choose this day whom you will serve, but as for me and my household, we will serve the Lord." Okay, so the first and most important question is, who's going to be your master? And then I said there are 2 more questions that you need to answer in your life. What were they? Who's going to be your future spouse, right? Who's going to be your mate, which is very important. And the last one was, what will be your mission in life? Okay, those 3 questions are very important. And the way that you answer them, okay, the process by which you live your life according to the answers to those questions is really going to find who you are. So, decide, commit, live. Today, I want to talk about commitment. Okay? I want to talk about commitment, because sometimes we can make a decision and we say in our mind, okay, I've made this decision, but then what, right? Just because we've made the decision in our mind, just because we've said this is what we're going to do, what happens next? What's the next step? And the next step that I want to talk about is commitment. Now, how many of you in here like to run? Anybody a runner, or run cross country? Or okay, good. All right. You know, when I think about life, I think about life as being really a long marathon. Okay? It's not a short distance. It's a long marathon in which we are on a journey. Right? Now, today, during free time, I like to run personally, so I went for a run. And I left the camp, which you cannot do, but I did, because I'm an adult, okay? I left the camp and I ran all the way down to the intersection where the Kangaroo gas station is on 26, and then I turned around and I came back. That was my run. Let me tell you, it is hot in the middle of the day. If you're a runner, why is it you run in the morning? Because it's cool, it's cold, right? It's nice, you can actually handle it. When you're out there in the heat, you're sweating, and you're like, I can't make it. But as I was running, I began to say, what a great illustration of commitment. Because before I went on the run, I went back, left here after we had our time this morning, and I said to Katie, I was like, well, you know, this is what I could do. I could go back, I could take a nap, sleep, right? Because I was tired. All right? Or I could go for a run and then we'd go down to the water. And I was like, I don't know. And at first I said, I think I might just go to sleep or whatever. But then I decided that I was going to go for a run. Okay? I decided, but then I had to make a commitment to do it. Right? So I got dressed, got ready, went out there, and ran and came back. And as I was coming back, there were so many times where I was like, I just need to give up. I just need to stop. I can't do this. But then I was like, no, this is like perfect illustration for our message. Keep going. Commitment. Keep going. And so I made it back. Right? Commitment. A lot of people get afraid of commitment. Commitment is something that seems to scare people. Right? Why do you think that is? Why do you think that is? Why do you think some people might be afraid of commitment? Yes?
They'll fail.
Because they'll fail, okay? why do you think they might fail? Why would they think they might fail?
They think they don't have adequate skills, they can't handle it.
Okay, that could be true, yeah. What might be, yeah?
Because I think that if you do more than one, they cannot decide back. They have to commit with it.
Oh, they might not be able to change, they may want to change their mind afterwards, right? Because some people don't like to do commitment because they're like, well, what if something better comes along, right? What if something that I didn't have before I made this commitment pops up and maybe I want to do that, right? People are really afraid of commitment. Commitment is something in our culture, in our society, that is really eroding. We're losing a sense of commitment. We don't have the levels of commitment to organizations, community, spouses, employment. We don't have the kind of level of commitment that we once had. We're seeing an erosion of commitment in society. Even I work with people all the time, and I simply want to have a meeting with them, right? We've got to set up a meeting, and we have to have a meeting so we can make some decisions, right? Or I may say, you know what, I'd like to have so-and-so, why don't you guys come over to our house for dinner, right? But you know what? People don't even write down in their day timers that this meeting is going to happen, or we're going to get together and spend this time together. People have a lack of commitment just in some of the simple things of life, not even the more complex things. And what I want to share with you this morning is two things that I think really diminish commitment, okay? Two things that truly diminish commitment. And anytime that you are trying to commit to something, if these two characteristics creep into your life, okay, they will reduce your ability to stay committed to something. You ready for it? Because when these two things are like a recipe, it's a recipe for disaster when these two things come into your life. We're going to talk about them this morning. The first threat to commitment that I want to talk about, okay? The first threat to commitment is what I call rampant impatience, okay? Rampant impatience. Here's what I'm talking about. Commitment really requires the idea that you can believe in the long-term investment, the long-term payoff, rather than the short-term gain, okay? Commitment requires patience, okay? Commitment requires patience. But when we have rampant impatience, this is a threat to commitment. Now think about this. We as a people are very impatient. Think about this. What do? We like to, have you heard this before, speed date. You know what speed dating is? Have you ever heard about this? This is when you basically sit down at a little table and you're in a room with a whole bunch of people, and you may have 30 seconds or 2 minutes, right, depending on whatever it is, and you sit at a table with someone else, and you basically just really kind of interview each other in terms of whether or not you'd want to go out on a date with them. And every 2 minutes or 30 seconds or whatever the time is, they ring a little bell and somebody gets up and moves on to the next person. And gets up and moves and goes to the next person. And gets up and moves to the next person. The idea is to try to be exposed to as many people as possible in this speed dating format, hoping that maybe you'll find some connection with somebody, right? So we like to speed date. What else do we like? We like fast food, right? In fact, fast food now doesn't even like to call itself fast food. You know what they call it now? It's called quick service. Okay? They don't want to, because fast food is like, oh, it just sounds bad. But we like fast food. Like when we make our order, right? Even when I go to my wife just recently went to McDonald's. Okay? She went to McDonald's. Do you know what they gave her when they have two windows. You place your order and then you drive to window number 1. You know what they gave her? They gave her an hourglass with sand in it. If she didn't get her meal within 1 minute, by the time she got to the next window, she got it free. Trying to increase how quickly we get our food, because people want what? Fast food, right? They want it now. Okay, think about this. When we go to shop, do you look for the self-checkout? Have you seen that before? The idea in self-checkout is I can do it faster than those clerks can do it, right? So you go up and you get your merchandise, and then you go to the checkout line and you check out your groceries or everything, and you bag it yourself because it just takes so much longer in those long lines with those checkers, right? The whole idea of self-checkout is to get you out faster. You don't have to worry about hiring somebody, right? Moving quickly, okay? We all want high-speed internet, right? High speed. Does anybody want slow speed internet? Anybody? Anybody? Like, I want slow speed. Give me slow speed, okay? Right? I mean, everyone wants fiber optic cables that have, Verizon Fios. That's what we want. Quick speed. We give it words like road runner, internet access, right? We want it quick. We want it instantaneous, right? When we cook, we look for instant potatoes, right? I don't have time to peel a potato and mash it up and add in all the ingredients. I just want to open a box, pour it in, add some milk or water, and boom, instant potatoes, right? We pay extra to have overnight shipping. I don't want to wait for tomorrow. I want it now, right? How many of you have been in a car, either driving or you're with your family or someone, and as soon as the light turns green, what does everyone do? Honk and go, right? We have to hurry up. We have to move. We got to go. This impatience is there. Think about this. This is what's been interesting too, because I remember when Twitter started, right, which is basically in about 140 characters you have to give a message. But now, 140 characters seems too long. I can't read it. I mean, think about what Instagram is, right? How many of you have Instagram accounts or know what Instagram is? Okay, right? Instagram got started because people got tired of reading a Facebook post, right? I mean, it takes too long to read. Sometimes these people put these long Facebook posts. I'm like, I don't have time to read 3 sentences. Just show me a picture. What is it that you're eating? Where is it that you're shopping? Okay, just pictures, okay? We like to cut corners. We like to look for shortcuts. We want to find the quickest, easiest way to do something because we're very impatient. We don't like to wait. We don't want to have our food brought to us. Give it to me now. I don't want to have to wait for this video to download. I want it instantly. We want everything fast. We want everything quick. We want everything now. Think about this. Companies are really starting to pick up on this. And there's a whole segment of organizations and companies that are really trying to cash in on the immediacy and the instantaneous nature of what people want with goods and services. In Boston, okay, Amazon. Everyone knows what Amazon is, which is a gigantic online shopping mall, okay? Amazon will offer same-day delivery in Boston if you order your product by 11 a.m. You pay $8.99 plus 99 cents per item, and you can have it, boom, that day. I don't need overnight shipping. I order it by 11, I get it by the end of the day. Instantaneous. Walmart has started what they call Walmart to Go, which charges $10 a day for same-day delivery. Why do I need to drive someplace? I just order on Walmart, boom, click my order, pay the extra money, right? We will pay for more time, right? Because we're impatient. Think about this. A computer science professor at the University of Massachusetts examined the viewing habits of 6.7 million internet users in a study. Guess how long the subjects were willing to be patient when surfing the internet? Take a guess. 10 seconds. 45 seconds. 0.5 seconds. 3 seconds. What? 2 seconds. 0 seconds? Oh, you're not even get on the internet then. I mean, 0, I can't even get on. What do you think? 7. You know what the answer is? The average patience of an individual using the internet, 2 seconds. 1,000. Listen, think about this. Here it is. You just click something on 1,000, 2,000. I'm impatient. I'm done. 1,000, 2,000. Done. 1,000, 2,000. Done. something about where we're at in a society in terms of being able to wait, in terms of patience. 2 seconds. This is what he said in his study. Okay, he goes, after 2 seconds, that means we get to 1 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000. Once we get to 3 seconds, guess what happens? 25% of the people abandon whatever it is they were looking at or searching for. If they can't click it and get it within 2 seconds, 25% say, out of here, see ya, I don't want to be there. I just think that is staggering what that says about us as a people. How can we commit, right, to anything if our level of impatience is defined by 2 seconds? 25% after 2 seconds. When you get to 10 seconds, those are the really patient people in the world today, the 10-second people, okay? By 10 seconds, 50% of the people who are searching or looking for something are gone. Anything after 10 seconds, then you're just losing them. 10 seconds. 2 seconds is the average wait for someone looking for something on the internet. Think about this. At Disney World and Universal Studios, there's even this idea that you can purchase, right, either a VIP tour or a special pass. They call it a fast pass, right? So you don't have to what? Wait. I don't want to wait in line. I want to ride it now, right? I want to do this now. So I just have to do what? Pay the money, and I get to what? Immediate go on the ride. There's a whole industry that's capitalizing on the fact that we are so impatient as a people. Get that fast pass. Think about this, Netflix. Does everyone know what Netflix is? Right? Okay, Netflix is basically a company that allows you to subscribe in 2 different ways. Number one, you can have streaming Netflix through your smart TV, okay, or your device, whatever you have, and you have access to their entire online catalog of movies and television shows and documentaries, etc. You can also subscribe to their, I guess, what would I call this? Their subscription service where you can rent movies and they will send you the DVD in the mail, okay? Then you can watch it and return it, okay? This is what Netflix has. It has these 2 options. Think about what's happening. Those who like the streaming video, Netflix has about 33 million subscribers. 33 million people subscribe to this instant streaming. Guess how many subscribe to getting the DVDs by mail?
1 million.
Only about 8 million. Okay? It's this attitude. Think about this. It's this attitude that if I have to search and look for a movie, I don't want it. I just want to be able to go on, click a couple of buttons, boom, click it, I got it, download, stream it instantaneously, I've got it. Okay? This is what happened with, and we could talk about business, but Blockbuster. Anybody ever remember what Blockbuster video was? Okay. This is where you actually went to a store and you looked around and were like, what movie are we going to watch? Right? And you walked around the whole store, and those stores went, who rents that now? And now you just go to a kiosk and you type in some things, but good night. If you have to wait to get to that kiosk, you're like, hurry up, I can't believe they don't know what they want to see. Okay? This whole concept of going to video stores, gone. That takes too much time. I have to get in my car, drive there. Then Netflix started out by saying, we'll just ship it to your house. Well, that now takes too long. It's got to be instantaneously streaming into your life because we are an impatient people. This rampant impatience. Think about this. The U.S. Department of Commerce, the Bureau of Economic Analysis, talked about people's savings rates. Okay? Because when you're impatient, you ain't got time to save money. What are you going to do with it? You're going to spend it. You got to spend it right now, right? By the way, I just want to let you know I found buried treasure in Lake Swan today. This looks like it's about 33 cents of a dollar, okay? So if anyone else has the other part of the dollar, I have it, okay? Just give me 33 cents and you can have this back, okay? People's savings, okay? Think about this. We don't have time to save money. We got to spend it now. In 1982, the average American household saved about 9.7% of their income. That means they took about 9.7% of their income that they had after paying their bills, after taking care of their finances, and they took that and they put it in a savings account. 9.7. They did that measure again in December of 2012. You know what the rate is for savings? 3.6%. Okay? Why do I need to save? I want it now. There's an idea that you deserve it. You earned it. Go get it. Right? Don't wait. Have it now. Don't delay. Enjoy it now. Now, 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 now. That's our culture. It's a now, now, now culture. Okay? Instantaneous. Impatience is harmful. Okay? Think about this. In 2003, the Journal of the American Medical Association pointed out that impatience can lead to increased hypertension among young adults, right? We get stressed out because if we don't get it now, what happens? I don't understand why I'm not getting it now. I need to have it right now. I need it right now. And it builds up this stress in our lives to where we have young people who can suffer from hypertension. Think about this. In 2004, a study from a professor at the University of Munich wrote in the Journal of Biological Science that there is a link between the rise of American impatience with increased rates of obesity. Studies found that Americans spent more of their income and saved less, right? They spent more of their income and saved less. They also were prone to gaining weight. The idea is that if you're going to if you are willing to forego present satisfaction for future benefits, you're patient. If, however, you want your satisfaction right now, you're going to have that extra dessert or that extra ice cream. You're not going to be able to wait for that pleasure. Everything is about now, having it now. In 2007, Science Daily reported that according to researchers at the University of Bonn and the Institute for Study of Labor, impatient people may not be as savvy as patient people when it comes to matters of finances. They run an increased risk of financial insecurity. Why? Because they're not saving. They're always spending. This idea of impatience, this idea of I've got to have it now. I don't want delayed gratification. I want it now, and I want it as quickly as possible. So in other words, when you look at impatience and what it does for us on a large scale as a society, it makes us tense, it makes us fat, it makes us broke. Okay? Impatience does not bring about in the lives of people great things. It really doesn't. But we're constantly in pursuit of getting something quicker, faster, more of it. This is the first element in a recipe. When you have impatience, you cannot be successful in commitment. Impatience and commitment do not go hand in hand. They don't. In fact, the higher your levels of impatience, the lower your levels of commitment. Because you cannot go the distance. You cannot see the project through. You cannot see the full benefit. Impatience in your life diminishes your ability to be committed. Now you take impatience, and now you're going to mix in this other element. Right? I told you it was a recipe. It's a recipe for disaster. The first ingredient, impatience. You ready for the second ingredient? You ready for the second ingredient? Okay, somebody is. All right. Here's the second ingredient that diminishes commitment. You ready for it? What I call excessive individualism. Okay? Excessive individualism. Commitment rejects self. Commitment rejects self in favor of others. Commitment rejects self in favor of others. But when someone has this idea of individualism and excessive individualism, this diminishes your ability or an individual's ability to do what? Be committed. Let me point this out. Talk about divorce, relationships. Okay? Some researchers have suggested that Americans' divorce rates are related to our low levels of commitment. Rather than being committed to a cause or a person, we are becoming increasingly committed to ourselves. Let me translate that to you. There's a rise in what we call selfishness. Okay? Andy Cherlin, who's a leading scholar in marriage, suggested that the institution of marriage is suffering because of excessive individualism. People's attention to their own personal satisfaction to growth and development of their psychological selves has reached such an extreme proportion that their capacity to make commitments to others has atrophied, meaning it's been reduced. We are seeing people that are more and more committed to themselves. It's all about me, right? We have a plate in our house, okay? It's up in our dish cabinet. Pull it out, and whoever's birthday is it gets to eat on that plate. And you know what it says on there? It's all about me, right? Now, we do it as a joke, right? But we have this in our society where there is this focus. It's all about me and what I want and what I need and how I need to be better and how I need to grow and how I have needs and I have wants and you have to help me. And on and on and on. This excessive individualism creeps into our lives. There was a study that came out in 2009. It was called the Good Childhood Study, and it was sponsored by the United Kingdom's Children's Society. It was a 3-year study. There were 11 experts on this team. They did 30,000 interviews with children, adults, and professionals. And this is what they found, that the greatest threat to children, are you ready for this? The greatest threat to children is the aggressive pursuit of personal success by adults. The greatest threat to children is the pursuit of personal success by adults. Basically, adults saying, I gotta do what's best for me, I gotta do what's best for me, I gotta do what's best for me, and they don't have time to worry about what implications that has for their children. Right? They'll be okay. I watched this commercial for a new television show on excessive parenting, and the mother basically said on the little snippet, well, our child is going to do this because I want him to be successful, and if he fails, well, we'll just put him in therapy. She admitted, we'll just put him in therapy. He'll be okay. But he's going to do this. This is the new parenting, my friends. Okay? Many of the problems affecting young people today, again, back to this study, are rooted in the belief among adults that the prime duty of the individual, the most important thing, right? This is the idea that we have in our society, in our culture, that the most important duty of the individual is to make the most of their own life rather than contribute to the good of others. Remember how we talked about yesterday that the individual good should trump the corporate? We don't have time to worry about children because it's all about me. It's all about what I want. It's all about what I need to do, what I want to accomplish, my dreams, my hopes, my goals, my aspirations, me, I. This excessive individualism creeps into our society. It results in such problems as high rates of what? Family breakups. How can we be committed to family units when it's all about me? Right? We can't have a family. You have high rates of family breakups. Teenage unkindness. The way we treat each other. The way we interact with each other. Right? The harshness. Because it's all about my needs, my wants, my desires. We see excessive individualism contributing to commercial pressure towards premature sexualization. I was just having a conversation with some of the adult leaders at lunch today that there's a new television show that's coming out, and it's called Dating Naked.
Oh yeah, this is the show.
And this is the new premise of the show. But we see this because it's what I want and what I need and what I want to have, and we're going to date each other without any clothes on. What are we setting up as a society? What are we valuing as a culture in something as base as this? Unprincipled advertising. And think about this, the acceptance of inequality among people, right? All of this excessive individualism gives rise to these things. Think about this. This was utterly startling that came out of this report. Of the children who were surveyed, 70% of the children agreed with the statement that parents getting on well is one of the most important factors in raising happy children. So the children were asked, is it important that adults get along? This is asking the children, okay? 70% of the children said, yes, I agree with that statement. Guess what the number was for the adults who were asked, the percentage of parents? 30%. So the kids are saying, it's so important, yes, that my parents, right, get along. That's very important to me. But the adults are like, that's so overrated. No, it's not really important that we get along. Do you see how there's a disconnect here? It's a disconnect because the parents are thinking, what? I've got to pursue my dreams and my goals and my aspirations and where I want to go and what I want to do. Okay? This excessive individualism is separating them from what's very important, which is the children who are crying out and saying, it's important that there's a level of commitment, that you all get along, that builds our family. That struck me. It also warns that values such as generosity and fairness and this idea of social obligation are becoming increasingly difficult to teach in a society where parents and children are repeatedly told they need to possess more material goods and compete successfully with each other. The mental health of the nation's children is being damaged by this concept of excessive individualism. And this is what I ask you. This is what I'm asking you. How do we address it? I don't know the answers to these questions, but this is what we need. We need people, Christians, men and women who know God, His truth, to answer some of these questions in society today. Are you ready for them? How do we address excessive individualism in a society that is obsessed with freedom, liberty, and self-expression? How do we do that? We need people to deal with these issues, to speak truth into these areas. How do we address the need for patience in a society that is obsessed with the immediacy of the now, of the moment? Everything has to happen now. There can't be a delay. There can't be a stoppage. How do we address these issues? These are the things I think about. These are the things that concern me. This is the things that concern me for future generations, because let me tell you, a society and a people that cannot commit to anything will commit to nothing. A society and a people that cannot commit to anything will commit to nothing. And a society of uncommitted people is no longer a society. And that, my friends, is the most dangerous trend for the future. So when you enter your old age, in your 60s and 70s and 80s, I don't know what this society is going to look like when we don't have a sense of what commitment is. I don't know what it's going to look like. I want to look to the Bible. If you've got your Bibles, turn to 1 Samuel. Because I want to look at 1 Samuel 13, because I think there's a really interesting portrait of an individual in the Bible that deals with these two concepts where there was a decision, but the commitment did not materialize. His name is King Saul, the first king of Israel. 1 Samuel chapter 13, I want to read through this, and I want to show you how this idea of rampant impatience met this excessive individualism, and watch what happened to Saul's commitment. 1 Samuel chapter 13. We're going to read from the NIV. Saul was 30 years old when he became king, and he reigned over Israel 42 years. Saul chose 3,000 men from Israel. 2,000 were with him at Michmash and in the hill country of Bethel, and 1,000 were with Jonathan at Gibeah and Benjamin. The rest of the men he sent back to their homes. Jonathan attacked the Philistine outpost at Geba, and the Philistines heard about it. Then Saul had the trumpet blown throughout the land and said, "Let the Hebrews hear." So all Israel heard the news. Saul has attacked the Philistine outpost, and now Israel has become obnoxious to the Philistines. And the people were summoned to join Saul at Gilgal. The Philistines assembled to fight Israel with 3,000 chariots, 6,000 charioteers, the soldiers as numerous as the sand on the seashore, and they went up and camped at Michmash, east of Beth-aven. When the Israelites saw that their situation was critical and that their army was hard-pressed, they hid in the caves and thickets, among the rocks and in its pits and cisterns. Ugh. Some Hebrews even crossed the Jordan to the land of Gad and Gilead. Saul remained at Gilgal with all the troops with him, and all the troops with him were quaking with fear. He waited 7 days, the time set by Samuel. But Samuel did not come to Gilgal, and Saul's men began to scatter. So he said, "Bring me the burnt offering and the fellowship offerings." And Saul offered up the burnt offerings. Just as he finished making the offering, Samuel arrived, and Saul went out to meet him. "What have you done?" asked Samuel. Saul replied, "When I saw the men were scattering, and that you did not come at the set time, and the Philistines were assembling at Michmash, I thought, now the Philistines will come down against me at Gilgal, and I have not sought the Lord's favor. So I felt compelled to offer the burnt offering. You have done a foolish thing." Samuel said, "You have not kept the command the Lord your God gave you. If you had, he would have established your kingdom over Israel for all time. But now your kingdom will not endure. The Lord has sought out a man after his own heart and appointed him ruler over his people, because you have not kept the Lord's command." Look at Saul's impatience. In verse 9 and 10, Saul couldn't wait. He says, "Bring me the burnt offering and the fellowship offerings." He knew what the pattern was. He needed to wait for Samuel, but he couldn't wait. And it's so ironic that as soon as he actually did it, who shows up? Samuel. Had he waited, had he had the patience, what does it say? His kingdom would have been established over all time. But his impatience broke down his commitment to follow God's prescribed plan for dealing with this military endeavor. Impatience diminishes your ability. Impatience diminishes my ability to what? Remain committed. And when we aren't committed, we wind up missing out on the bigger blessing. We wind up missing out on the greater reward. We wind up missing out on the incredible, awesome thing that God has planned for us because we just want it now. We don't want to wait, and when we get impatient, we get sloppy. And when we get sloppy, let me tell you, things don't go right. This impatience was in Saul. Flip over a couple of pages to chapter 15. We see this impatience, right? It's the first warning sign of Saul's inability to be committed. But there's a second ingredient that shows up in chapter 15, beginning with verse 1. Follow along. Samuel said to Saul, "I am the one the Lord sent to anoint you king over his people Israel. So listen now to the message from the Lord. This is what the Lord Almighty says. I will punish the Amalekites for what they did to Israel when they waylaid them as they came up from Egypt. Now go, attack the Amalekites and totally destroy all that belongs to them. Do not spare them. Put to death men and women, children and infants, cattle and sheep, camels and donkeys." Boom. Pretty explicit, right? Pretty clear what God wants Saul to do. Wipe them out. Verse 4. So Saul summoned the men and mustered them at Telium, 200,000 foot soldiers and 10,000 from Judah. Saul went to the city of Amakal. I think I said that right. And set an ambush in the ravine. Then he said to the Kenites, "Go away and leave the Amalekites so that I do not destroy you along with them. For you showed kindness to all the Israelites when they came up out of Egypt." So the Kenites moved away from the Amalekites. Then Saul attacked the Amalekites all the way from Havilah to Shur, near the eastern border of Egypt. And he took Ag, king of the Amalekites, alive. Let me read that again. And he took Ag, king of the Amalekites, alive. Let me say that again. Okay. He took Ag, king of the Amalekites, alive, and all his people he totally destroyed with the sword. But Saul and his army spared Ag and the best of the sheep and cattle, the fat calves and the lambs, everything that was good. These they were unwilling to destroy completely, but everything that was despised and weak they totally destroyed. Then the word of the Lord came to Samuel. "I regret that I've made Saul king because he has turned away from me and has not carried out my instructions." Samuel was angry and he cried out to the Lord all that night. Early in the morning, Samuel got up and went to meet Saul, But he was told, Saul has gone to Carmel, and there he has set up a monument in his own honor. In his own honor, and has turned and gone down to Gilgal. Then when Samuel reached him, Saul said, "The Lord bless you. I have carried out the Lord's instructions." But Samuel says, "What then is this bleating of sheep in my ears? What is this lowing of cattle that I hear?" Saul answered, "The soldiers brought them from the Amalekites. They spared the best of the sheep and cattle to sacrifice to the Lord your God. But we totally destroyed the rest." "Enough," Samuel said to Saul. "Let me tell you what the Lord said to me last night." "Tell me," Saul replied. Samuel said, "Although you were once small in your own eyes, did you not become the head of the tribes of Israel? The Lord anointed you king over Israel, and he sent you on a mission, saying, 'Go and completely destroy those wicked people, the Amalekites. Wage war against them until you have wiped them out.' Why did you not obey the Lord? Why did you pounce on the plunder and do evil in the eyes of the Lord?" "But I did obey," Saul said. "I went on a mission, and the Lord assigned me. I completely destroyed the Amalekites and brought back Ag, their king. The soldiers took sheep and cattle from the plunder, the best of what was devoted to God, in order to sacrifice them to the Lord your God at Gilgal." The Lord your God at Gilgal. Ooh, what a change in attitude there. But Samuel said, "Does the Lord delight in burnt offerings and sacrifices as much as in obeying the Lord? To obey is better than sacrifice, and to heed is better than the fat of rams. For rebellion is like the sin of divination, and arrogance like the evil of idolatry. Because you have rejected the word of the Lord, he has rejected you as king." Then Saul said to Samuel, "I have sinned. I violated the Lord's command and your instructions. I was so afraid of the men, and so I gave in to them. Now I beg you, forgive my sin and come back with me so that I may worship you." But Samuel said to him, "I will not go back with you. You have rejected the word of the Lord, and the Lord has rejected you as king over Israel." As Samuel turned to leave, Saul caught hold of the hem of his robe and tore it. Samuel said to him, "The Lord has torn the kingdom of Israel from you today, and has given it to one of your neighbors, one better than you. He who is the glory of Israel does not lie or change his mind, for he is not a human being that he should change his mind." Saul replied, "I have sinned. Please honor me. Please honor me before the elders of my people and before Israel. Come back with me so that I may worship the Lord your God." So Samuel went back with Saul, and Saul worshipped the Lord. Then Samuel said, "Bring me Ag, king of the Amalekites." Ag came in his chariots. He thought, surely the bitterness of death is past. But Samuel said, As your sword has made women childless, so will your mother be childless among women." And Samuel put Ag to death before the Lord God at Gilgal. Then Samuel left for Ramoth, and Saul went to his home in Gibeath of Saul. Until the day Samuel died, he did not go to see Saul again, though Samuel mourned for him, and the Lord regretted that he had made Saul king over Israel. Saul had a mandate. He had a mandate. Go and attack the Amalekites, completely destroy him. But what did he want to do? He wanted to get a big old ceremony that would do what? Bring him honor. He says, "I got the best of all these cattle because I wanted to sacrifice them to the Lord your God." No, he didn't. What did he want to do? He wanted a big ceremony that would show how great he was. Look what I did. I conquered these people. I have all this livestock, and now I'm going to sacrifice them. Look at how awesome I am. Bring me honor. Bring me glory. It was what? It was his individualism, his pride, his pursuit of his desires, what he wanted. You see, when you have this idea of impatience, which Saul was impatient, he couldn't wait for what God wanted to do in God's timing, and he didn't care about what needed to happen. It was about his needs, his wants, his desires, what was best for him. When you add these things together, you've got a recipe for disaster. Impatience and individualism diminishes your ability to remain committed to anything. Psalm 37, 1-9 says, "Do not fret because of those who do evil, or be envious of those who do wrong. For like the grass, they will soon wither. Like green plants, they will soon die away. Trust in the Lord and do good. Dwell in the land and enjoy safe pasture. Take delight in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. Verse 5, commit your way to the Lord. Trust in him, and he will do this. He will make your righteousness shine like the dawn, your vindication like the noonday sun. Be still before the Lord and wait patiently for him. Do not fret when people succeed in their ways, when they carry out their wicked schemes. Refrain from anger and turn from wrath. Do not fret, it only leads to evil. For those who are evil will be destroyed, but those who hope in the Lord will inherit the land. Proverbs 16:2-3 says, all a person's ways seem pure to them, but the motives are weighed by the Lord. Commit to the Lord whatever you do, and he will establish your paths. You see, what commitment is commitment is a dedicated choice. Commitment is a dedicated choice to give up other competing choices. It's a dedicated choice to give up other choices. You know what commitment brings into your life? Let me tell you, commitment brings into your life two things. And this is what people want and desire more than anything else. It brings safety and security. Commitment brings safety and security. Do you remember what I told you those three questions were? The three most important questions. Who will be your master? Who will be your mate? And what will be your mission? Commitment is something we see in relationships. This is why we always get concerned about relationships. And the most important relationship, the most important human relationship you will have in your life will be to that spouse, that mate that you choose in life. That is the most important earthly relationship you will have. And that is why we have so much attention about relationships and so much attention about love. And have you found the one? Right? Let me tell you, God gives us in marriage a great illustration of commitment. Now, I absolutely love my wife. She is a beautiful, wonderful woman. And I am very thankful that God gave me the patience and the fortitude to wait for Katie. I'm glad I had the patience. It was difficult to have the patience to wait for that. But I can remember when I married her, and then everyone asked us right after we got married, they said, well, what's the thing you enjoy most about marriage? What is it that you love? And you know what it was for me? I said, I love the sense of security. I love the sense of security that I have with Catherine. Because I know at the end of the day, she's going to be there. I get to come home from work and I get to look into the eyes of a beautiful woman who loves me and has committed herself to me. She is a woman that outshines me. She is wiser, smarter. She is more intelligent and articulate than I could ever imagine. She lives her life for the Lord. I am blessed to have her in my life. God has given us marriage as a way to understand commitment and relationships. But let me tell you, excessive individualism and impatience do not work in a marriage. You cannot be impatient in a marriage. And if you have a marriage that says it's all about me, that marriage is going to disintegrate. Because when there is this impatience and when there is this individualism in a marriage, it's a recipe for disaster because a marriage is predicated on commitment. And I can remember the night, and I wrote it down in my journal, when I realized she was the one for me. I wrote down, I was struggling with this, I was a single guy, I didn't know, there's so much haze about relationships and people and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, is Catherine the one? Is she not the one? I don't know. And really, I was praying about it, I had talked to my father about this, and it was one night in my room, I got on my knees, I wrote it down in my journal, and I just confessed it in my journal. I said, I love her, and I wrote it. And that night I called her and I told her that I wanted her in my life. And well, that's a long story, but anyways, we wound up getting married, okay? But let me tell you what true love is. Love is not an emotional, ushy-gushy feeling that you have. Love at its core is about commitment. And you cannot have true love when you have rampant impatience, and you cannot have true love when you have rampant individualism. It will not work. It will not work. Let me tell you something. The other day, this was a beautiful illustration. The other day, my wife and I went out to eat for lunch. I took her out. And there we were in the restaurant. And you know what I saw as we got up to order our food? There was a senior citizen couple. He was probably in his late 70s, early 80s. And there was a woman, his wife, in a wheelchair. And you could tell that she was incapacitated. She didn't really have a lot of awareness. She may have been suffering from dementia. And you know what he was doing? He was this old man just sitting there, had his nicely pressed shirt on, his long pants, and she was sitting there in the wheelchair and all these people, and he was taking the food and he was feeding it to her. And then when they were done, he took her out and he wheeled her in a wheelchair because she couldn't walk. And he wheeled her in a wheelchair and he wheeled her out to the car. And you know what he did? He picked her up and he put her in the car. And then he took that little cart, he took that little wheelchair and he folded it up, and it took him probably about 15 minutes to do it. And he took that little wheelchair and he put it in the trunk of his car. And I turned to Katie and I said, that's so beautiful. Because you know what that is? What a great illustration of what commitment is. What a great illustration of what love is. And I thought to myself, you know, I don't know how long they've been married, but I know they've been married quite some time. And the way that he was caring for her and tenderly loving her. I said, when he took his vows before God, had a big old cross around his neck. I remember the little wooden cross. I said, when he took his vows, he meant it. And let me tell you something. You know why that was so beautiful? Something, an image like that, doesn't just happen like this. It's not just a snap of a finger. That takes something that has grown over time. That's something beautiful over time. That's something that requires self-sacrifice and an enormous amount of patience, because there's an utter commitment that he had to his bride. And let me tell you, that's what true love is. That's the kind of relationship that Jesus Christ wants to have with you. He wants a commitment from you, and he wants to be committed to you. I love what it says, Psalm 37, commit your way to the Lord, trust in him, and he will do this. He will make your righteousness shine like the noonday sun. Jesus says to us in Matthew chapter 11, 28 and 30, come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls, for my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Jesus says, come to me. I want to be committed to you. Will you be committed to me? And let me tell you, we need people who not only make decisions, but are committed, so that we can live a life that gives us a true heart of worship. I don't know where you stand in your relationship with the Lord Jesus Christ. The most important decisions you're going to make is who is going to be the master of your life, who is going to be that mate, and what is going to be your mission. And I want you to get that this weekend. But let me tell you, our God wants you to be committed to him because he wants to be committed to you. And the thing I love about God is his commitment to you is intense. It's like a junkyard dog. He's going to hold on to you because he loves you with a true, deep love, a sacrificial love, a patient love. And my hope for you is that you will enter into a true level of commitment to understand what it means to love the Lord your God. Shall we pray? Just in the quietness of your own heart. No one's looking around. If you would say, Kevin, would you just pray for me? I'm wrestling with this idea of commitment. And I'm asking, Lord, that you would help me be be committed to you. Help me in these areas of commitment. Would you just slip up your hand so I can pray for you? Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you. Almighty God, I thank you so much that you are committed to us. I thank you, Father, that even in the midst of our foolishness and our unfaithfulness, Lord, that you are faithful and kind. You are forgiving and patient. Lord, I pray that you would speak to the hearts of these young people they've raised their hands, Lord, that they want a commitment to you, a commitment that lasts. Father, help us with our patience. Help us with our individualism, Lord. Help us, Lord, not to be selfish, but to be giving. Help us to understand that it's not about us and how quickly we can get things. But Lord, that you are actually using our lives to paint beautiful stories. And Father, I even now think of that beautiful couple that I saw. I pray, Lord, that you would strengthen that husband as he cares for that wife, that he took those vows to love and honor and cherish all the days of his life. It's easy to take those vows when we're young and there's no health issues, Lord, and the life that is before us looks beautiful. But Father, it's in those difficult times that we see what we're truly made of. Bless that couple, I pray. Bless these students, Father. And in this time, as we move into discussion, Lord, and we talk about this concept of commitment, Lord, I pray that it would be something that is rewarding and powerful, a huge blessing, Lord, and open our eyes. I ask this in Jesus' name.